friends, welcome back to my channel and part 2 of this pen and ink peony. We're going to do the leaves today, and we'll see how far this we get today. I did not expect the video to be as long as it was, the first video to be as long as it was. So if you were not aware, I have a speed time-lapse video of this process on the channel as well, so you can watch that if you don't feel like watching the full-length version. So in the interim, between yesterday and today, I went through and really took a better look at some peony leaves. I tend to, I rush when I film more than I should, because I'm always concerned about, you know, about the video being boring, or about how, you know, if it's dragging because I'm taking too much time doing something or looking at something or whatever. So I took a better look at many different peony leaves, and that would be a tip that I could give you. Don't limit yourself to just looking at one reference photo. Look at a lot of reference photos. Look at a lot of different angles, a lot of different, you know, whatever I'm trying to say. Just look at a lot. So I Googled peony leaves, and I looked at a lot of peony leaves, and so that helps to give me an idea when I'm drawing as to, you know, what I want to do. So one of the things that I did notice when I did my my first sketch was that I drew these as if they were one leaf with 3 sections, when in fact, for most of them, they're actually 3 leaves that are tightly connected together at the base. Some of them are more connected, like they're one leaf, but some of them are 3 leaves. So I am going to make a couple of adjustments in the drawing, and I did go ahead and add the pencil sketch for the veining while I was busy doing that. So now we can just go ahead and get into more of the inking. So I want to be, I want to make sure that my center vein stays white. This is my 003. Probably the 3 and the 5. The 003 and the 005 are probably my most used pens. I will tell you that I'm not crazy about this paper. I do feel like it's too rough, but it is what it is. So it's not that you can't get good results with the rougher paper, but it's really, really hard on your pens. So I'm really touching very, very lightly here. So thankfully it's still giving me a decent line on here without having to press too hard. See, this is one of those things when I feel like it's just a it's just a boring video. Yeah, so anyway, that's what the speed or the time-lapse video will be for, in case you just don't want to listen to me babbling away. And I think it feels boring because when you're working with such delicate things like this, you're really, you have to kind of really take your time. Okay, so and I am trying to do the veins that shoot out from the center vein at the same time, because I don't want a line going down the, I want them all to be connected. I don't want there to be a line like I did the center vein and then the other veins coming off of it. Just adding these in has improved the look, to me, of the piece quite a lot. I don't think I mentioned that I decided to add another leaf, so I did add another leaf here. Debating on adding a little curl of the leaf, but I'm not sure where that would work. I should have thought about that before. Okay, too late. Never mind. I moved the line of this veining because I didn't want them to be opposite each other. Some plants have the veining being very symmetrical and opposite of each other, but this one appears that the veining is scattered, so like I said, sometimes I completely change from where I had the sketch. Okay, so I think I'll start. Oh, how do I want to do this? Debating on using the stippling for the shading or using hatching. I think I'm going to start here. Let's come in from the other side. Make sure that those lines are going the right direction, that they're following the shape of the leaf. And if they have that little bit of a curve, that's going to help make the leaf not appear so flat. Okay, and then I'm going to go a little bit darker in here. So I don't know if having the reference photo up in the corner in this case is going to help very much, because I'm really not following a reference photo at this point. I used the reference photo that I gave you the link for as one of many that I looked at to kind of determine the shape of the leaves. But you won't find, like, if you look at that photo that I linked for you, you're not going to be able to like follow along and go, oh, I see where she's matching what she's doing to that particular reference photo, because obviously I'm not. I mean, the reference photo that I linked has water droplets on it and stuff like that, but I just wanted to give you an idea and give you a reference photo that was legal to use for copying and such, because it came from Pixabay. But kind of what I'm doing now is just what I would do with pretty much any leaf. Once I kind of get an idea of what the leaf shape is, at that point the leaf, drawing the leaf is, I'm just kind of doing it the way I would do almost any other leaf. So I think we'll leave the reference photo off. Do the inside first, and then I'll worry about the outside. So you know, it's very similar to coloring, as far as like when you're doing your shading. I do find this to be very similar. I kind of like the look of leaving that little bit there white, so I think I'm going to leave that alone. Let's come in over here. I almost feel like there's no need for me to film this whole thing, because I'm going to be doing the leaves all exactly the same way. So maybe after I get this done, this leaf here, maybe I'll just double time through the rest of the leaves. I don't know. Let's see how my strokes are curved, because I want to give the impression that this leaf is curving down. Did I miss one? Let's just draw one of these in here. Just darkening on the underside of the vein a little bit. Okay, there seems to be a darkening of the points where the leaves kind of attach in the reference photos. They tend to be red, but obviously we can't do red. Or at least a lot of them are red. Before I go into doing more leaves, maybe I should just go ahead and do the stem. In this case, I think I'm going to do the stem with stippling. So when you're stippling, the closer together your dots are, the darker it's going to be, and then the further apart, then it gets lighter. So you can use that method to shade. I tend to kind of mix it up between that and I feel like I'm not following the rules very well, but I figure there are no rules in art, really. Well, there are suggestions, but they're not necessarily rules. I will say that the stippling method takes longer than every other method that's out there, for sure. I might go ahead and switch up. I'm using my 003. Let's try the 5. Just because now we're in a bigger area here. .005. Always remember to say that, because I think there is a 5, a number 5, which is much, much bigger. I feel like this would be like watching paint dry. It's fun while you're doing it, but I can't imagine how much fun it is watching. I'm looking at my pen tip because I can definitely tell that it's gone down since I opened the, since I opened it with the cap and everything. I guess that's one of the downfalls of using watercolor paper. If I was on a really super smooth paper all the time, that wouldn't happen. So one of the things that I have been planning on doing is, because my printer is an inkjet printer, and it doesn't, inkjet ink tends to run, at least, unless, I know that there's some inkjet inks that don't run, but I don't have one of those kind of printers or the ability to put that kind of ink in my printer. So one of the things that I have done, and you could also do, is do your work on really nice and smooth paper, and then scan it. It often takes a little bit of color adjustment. That's the only problem, because a lot of the times paper, when you scan it, the paper doesn't come out perfectly white, so you might have to do some adjustments on it. But one of the things that I have done is to scan the work, particularly because I plan on putting some of these pen and ink drawings into my Etsy shop, so that you can use them for collage work, art journals, or color them. I have one in particular that I think would be really fun to color with colored pencils, so we'll do that. Anyway, where was I going with this? Oh, and then you can just take the scanned image on a JPEG and take it to the print shop and bring your watercolor paper and have them print the image onto the watercolor paper. As long as the background is white, you won't have any ink that goes onto the paper. It'll only print, the black ink where your image is, and then you can watercolor on it to your little heart's content. That has worked for me before. Okay, so I think I'm just gonna double time through this, and because I'm gonna be doing the exact same thing that I was doing here. I am gonna add my little my little leaf dots, because I like to do that. I've been doing that since I started coloring. I'm going to be doing the same exact thing, so I'm just going to double time through the rest of these, and then I think we'll go ahead and try and put a watercolor wash on here. So, all right. If I have anything fantastic to share or any great words of wisdom, I'll let you know. Otherwise, I will see you when I get the rest of the leaves finished. Okay, so now, that's not bad. Now I'm going to come in and darken some stuff a little bit, even a little bit more. So I'm going to move up to the point zero, sorry, to the 0, 1. And just come in and kind of, I'm just kind of playing, I guess. I don't really know what I'm doing, you guys. Truly. Still learning, still figuring out what I'm supposed to do. So, I know that's not what you want in a teacher, but I don't know that I've ever felt like I was really a teacher. I'm just kind of showing you what I'm doing. All right, this one I want to be a little bit careful with. I think we better switch to a smaller tip. I do want more shading, but not so heavy. Let's do some more shading right on here. I think with the pen and ink drawings, the ones that turn out the best for me are the ones where I really get high contrast between the lights and the darks. And the darks are usually pretty easy. It's the lights that I find hard, because once you put some color on, that's it. You're you're committed, you're done. There's no although I think I mentioned in the other video, there are some acrylic inks that you can put down that will help you to make changes, but I've found that they tend to make the area that you've covered more gray than back to white, and that kind of isn't the look that I want if I'm doing a black and white drawing. So I try to avoid using that if I can, but sometimes it just can't be helped. I do want to start playing around with graphite, with pencil. I don't know why when I tried it, I felt like it was harder than the pen and ink. But I could just be crazy. I don't know. I'm going to try it again because I like the look. All right, we've somehow managed to lose some of this fading. You like how I say we? Like I include you in the mistakes that I made. Yeah. whole area in here that has to get filled in. So I had mentioned doing a watercolor wash on this. And I'm just not sure how it's going to turn out. I'm afraid because I made the picture quite large, so there's really no room for the wash to go the way I would like it to go. Because I do tend to enjoy the look where I'm not actually coloring the image itself. I'm just putting a wash of color kind of on there, and so I don't know. I'm not sure. I have to think about it a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna make a few little I know they're called what are they called? Hatching. A few little hash marks, which, you know, to me are just lines. A few little lines in here. This one is pretty much too narrow for me to be able to do that on there. All right. I think that's good. Actually, I kind of like me darken this. I think that one of the things that I did not do a good job of is making my leaves shaped more than just kind of straight on. I kind of did that in here. I kind of wish I would have given some of them a little bit more curve, or a little bit more, what's the word? It's not perspective, but, you know, so that they were sitting back at slightly different angles, but I guess it's okay. Alrighty, so I'm going to absorb this for a couple of minutes and decide if I want to add watercolor to it, and I'll either come back and do that, or I'll come back and say goodbye. Okay, so I decided to be brave and just we'll just add some watercolor to this, and we'll see what happens. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. Part of me is like, just paint it with watercolor. And the other part of me is, no, I think I want to do it the way I usually do it, which is just kind of a wash of color with, well, you'll see. Anyway, so some of my absolute most favorite watercolors that I own are handmade watercolors by MashasWatercolors on Etsy. And I just love them. I mean, they are like the most delicious colors, and a lot of them are granulating, or, colors that there are multi-faceted dimension to the color. And I just love them. So I pulled out Shadow Green Light, Weathered Rose. Bright Yellow is very bright. Gold Ochre is a little more subdued, so I'm not sure which one of those I'm going to use first. And to start with, I'm just going to mix up some of this color on the palette. This is my baking tray that I got from Amazon. And I love it because I can take well, I showed you guys videos of this, but I can take my half pans out. They all have magnets on them, and it keeps me from having a messy palette that holds my paint. All right, I'm not sure. I don't think we're going to need too much. So this is the bright yellow, and you can see it's quite bright. And this is the gold ochre, and it's a little more orangey. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so let's push this off to the side. Oh, it's always scary. It is always scary. Never think that people that do this, just have great success and know what they're doing all the time, because I don't think they do. All right, so I'm going to start by adding water. And I've never used this watercolor paper before, so I have no idea how it's going to react. So I want the majority of the water in the white areas, not actually, like I'm not putting it on the plant. I mean, some of it I am, but all right, let's start with our Weathered Rose. So when I do watercolor like this, I want it to be, I should have taped my paper down. I did not, that was dumb. I want it to be very loose and messy. I don't want it to be precise, so I purposefully do not. I work quick, and I work, I don't know. It's a non-precise kind of thing. You just don't want it to be, at least I don't want it to be perfect. I want it to look less than perfect. I think we're gonna do a little bit just on the one side. Oh, I like how that blended into the pink there a little bit, so I'm gonna do that. And we're gonna do some, should we do some drippies? Oh no, let's try adding a little bit more. So I know you probably can't, I know it's hard because I have to hold it at an angle. Oh, I really like the way those blended together. Okay. I'm gonna do some pink. And where it's wet, it's going to kind of blend away, but where it's dry, it's going to stay in kind of the splattery look. I'm just adding a little bit more paint to my water so that the concentration is a little bit higher. Kind of like that. Now, if this was, you know, one of my pieces that I was doing for art, well, I did do this for art, but if this was one of my pieces that I wasn't filming, I would probably have, you know, I would have had it smaller, the paper would have been bigger, and I would have done some of my gold geometrics on here, but there's just not room for that, I don't think, on this particular page. I'm kind of thinking I don't want to mess with it anymore. I might do we might do it now that that's dry a little bit more. I might do some more pink splatters. I think that's it. I think I'm going to call that good. Yep. I don't know. There's something about the pen and ink, the black and white image with the color wash on it where it's, you know, a hot mess that I really, really love. So I think I'm gonna call that good. I will sign it in a little bit. There's this little bit here that's bugging me. Just gonna blend that little white bit out. Okay, good enough. Good. I'll let that dry and I'll take a good photograph of it after it's dry. Don't touch your don't touch your paper where the paint is, Karen. Sometimes you can just lift, you can re-wet and just lift. But no, not in that case. Okay, yeah, done. I'm gonna call that good. So we'll do this again. If you have any suggestions on how you want the videos to be, if you want the videos to be, you know, mostly time-lapse, mostly sped through, tell me in the comments. Please let me know. If you like them in the long format, then let me know that too. Your feedback is so important to me, and it really gives me a guide for what direction is best for me to go for future videos, since a lot of this is new as far as the direction that the channel is going. So, and it really helps with the growth of my channel too, so don't forget that. One thing I am noticing as I'm kind of watching this, it's really interesting before I go. This hot press watercolor paper is behaving very differently than my cold press. Very, very differently. And I don't know how to explain it exactly. It's almost like this. I mean, I know that that Mashas, this green that I use, this shadow green light, has a mix of green and yellows in it. But that really did an odd separation thing there with the watercolor. It's almost like I used one color. It's almost like I used yellow first and then added green on top of it. My cold pressed watercolor paper does not behave that way. So that's very interesting. I'm kind of curious just before I go, because I know, actually I should show you what happens here with these. They separate, so you can see the yellow and the green. That is from one pan of color. And they separate when they're settled, just like you can see the weathered rose kind of is this pink and this brownish, yellowish color. They separate. There's some blue in this too, shadow green light. There's blue, there's green, there's yellow. I mix it all up, you know, and it all, whoops, it all turns green. And it does separate on the paper with cold pressed paper, but I've never seen it separate quite that much. So I'm just gonna add a few more splotches just to blend those separating colors a little bit more there. Very interesting. And I'm going to add a few more pink ones too. I'm curious to see what it does as it dries. So, all right, so that's it. I'm gonna end this one. I would say that if you decide that you want to do a line and wash is what it's generally called. If you decide that you want to do a pen drawing and then add watercolor to it, I would suggest that you make sure that you get a good scan of your original before you put the watercolor on your page, because that way, just in case you are not happy with the finished results, at least you have a good scan of the original and you can print it out and you won't feel like you've lost all of your hard work. So, all right, my friends, that's it. Until I see you next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Love to you all. Bye.